absolutely, and it's paid off for him. 16.8 points per game.
What's up, guys? It's Monday. It's a little early than the 7:30 normal time, but it's Monday. It's Cast Mac chat time. So here we go. Joseph, we just signed him today. It was released today. So having Adeiny Hechavarria back in the fold, he will. It's a minor league deal with an invite to spring training. His bat flips are worth the price of admission. So that is good. And depth and infield depth and the ability to play multiple positions. We know what Adeiny brings. Electric energy, so that is good. Magneuris Sierra was another signing, the former St. Louis Cardinal. He was in Miami Marlin, who was a big cornerstone piece in the Marcell Ozuna deal that sent Sandy Alcantara to Miami. So that's intriguing name to follow as well. As well as Forrest Wall, a lifetime minor leaguer. He is a outfielder, 705 games, 209 steals, 278 average, 41 triples. So speed to burn. So that's an interesting guy to follow. I don't believe, unless something insane happens, I do not believe we will start Vaughn Grisham in the minors. I just don't see that happening. Yeah, I knew I recognized the Moran name there as well. So there's some interesting guys to follow in spring training, of course. And Adeiny Hechavarria, again, the backflips are worth the price of admission anyway. Chip, yes, is officially leaving. I'm not that I respect Chip. I love what he brought to the table. But it's been 18 years. I think it'll be a nice change depending on what happens. I respect him for everything he did. The big time calls. I think it's a perfect time, and sometimes when the world calls you home, you need to let that happen. And he's from St. Louis, and the whole Chip Caray legacy, the name and all that stuff. So I'm just really happy for Chip. And I'm really excited to see what the next chapter of Braves baseball will be, booth-wise, because I think it's going to be fun and exciting, and we have a great team. So I think that is really going to be really exciting to see what happens. I'm not necessarily bummed. I'm just happy for Chip to get the opportunity and for us to go into a different era. That is huge. Brian Snitker getting the contract extension was huge as well. Yeah. Pilar, I would say, out of the guys that are in the smorgasbord of kind of left field options, I think Pilar has probably the best chance. Luplo has 2 minor league options, and so does Eli White. That could play into it as well. Obviously, performance matters. So a lot of these, and you still got A. Rosario, who, I mean, a few years ago with the Twins hit 32 homers, and last year or during the playoffs was Babe Ruth against the Dodgers, and just clutched that entire run. So I don't think you can discount Eddie Rosario either. I really don't. It's just the reality of the situation, and February 16th, I believe, is when pitchers and catchers report for us. So that is really, really good and solid, for sure. Then we'll have a lot of things to discuss, and the battles and the games and all that stuff. That's the fun part. And that's also the great sign when the Super Bowl comes, because that means that pitchers and catchers are close, and that's awesome. What do we got? Jazz Chisholm is the cover athlete for MLB The Show 23, and I think he's an electric player, and I think he deserves it in that way because I think he's great for baseball. But I want no part of any Brave being part of that, because there is some bad voodoo when it comes to that injury or poor year or things of that nature. I really don't. Ronald Acuna Jr. is looking poised to have a better maybe even a better year than 2019, which I can't even imagine, but that's going to be fun to watch and follow just as anything. I'm really excited for Ronald, and I'm really excited just to see everybody and how Sean Murphy comes into the fold, and how that. My question on that is because they said that Sean Murphy will get some play at DH, and so will Travis d'Arnaud. So does that put Chadwick Tromp as a option this year, third catcher wise? I don't know, because yes, Darren O'Day did retire. I did not realize he was undrafted, because he was with my uncle in 2007 when he coached the Florida Gators. So this was kind of following his career from the beginning was kind of really fun. And for him to play 3 seasons with the Braves, that was really, really, really cool. And he was a big part of our bullpens in those couple of years as well. And he had a 2.51 ERA as a side armor for 6 seasons. And he was absolutely electric with Baltimore. So I hope he enjoys retirement. It's well deserved. 15 seasons, undrafted, and a All-Star appearance. That is insanely epic for him. And really happy for him. The other big news for the Braves this week was we extended Brian Snitker through 2025, and he can take this, or he can stay as long as he wants to, and I'm really, really content and excited about it. I mean, we all argue, or we all complain about some moves when they don't work out, but Snickers a Braves lifer, and I wouldn't have anybody else leading the club. Given the results over the last 5 straight division titles, a World Series champion, been in the Braves organization for 40 plus years. There's no reason to go anywhere else, and the players understand what he expects and how he handles himself, and he was one of the main reasons we were able to get out of our funk last year on June 1st. So I'm super happy that he's still around, and it's well deserved for sure. But I did want to circle back to the Chadwick Trump of it all, because if Sean Murphy's going to take most of the catching, but Travis d'Arnaud, they want him to still be in the lineup because he's so productive DH there. You might need to carry a third catcher because of injury possibility and maybe a matchup late in the game, but you still that kind of thing. And he did have 3 doubles in that one game he played for us. Unfortunately, the quad injury doing that on one leg was really impressive. So I think Chadwick Trump could be a option for the Braves. Now, typically you don't carry 3 catchers, especially with the DH. That's why I still think there's something that has to give with the outfield / DH with Eddie Rosario and Marcell Ozuna. Even though Marcell Ozuna, we talked about it all offseason long, $32 million is hard to it's hard to get off the books, especially with how poor he was last year on the field and off of it, but on the field specifically. So that's just an interesting nugget that keeps bugging me about the roster right now. And I don't know how you fix it or if you fix it, but I think a lot of those things take care of themselves in spring training.
There's so much space.
Obviously.
They're slouching again, Ted.
And so that is a thought there. Let's see. They did say the Braves, David O'Brien and others said it'll be about a week or so. It'll be about a week or so for when we get our new play-by-play guy. Maybe a little longer, a couple of weeks, but that should be exciting, whoever gets that. Andrew Jones got a big bump in his Hall of Fame campaign, and it's well-deserved. And yes, very happy with Fred McGriff. Much deserved and far too late, but once you correct the mistake, so that's all that matters there. Very happy. Matt Barnes. There's some other baseball news. Matt Barnes was traded from the Red Sox to the Marlins, and Matt Barnes was one of the most electric closers and then kind of lost it. So that could be an interesting get for the Marlins. Although they did give up Richard Blyer, who had been a pretty key piece in their bullpen, so it's a little bit of a strange one. And the Marlins have kind of had a strange offseason, but also very interesting, where they could, if everything aligns, they could be a sneaky wild card team. Honestly, But who knows because I don't know anything about Skip Schumacher being a manager. I know he's been around the Padres and St. Louis, and he obviously was an amazing player in his own right. But I'm just not sure exactly. They're kind of the Cubs of the Cubs just because I'm not sure exactly there either. Some of their moves are very intriguing. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The Arise trade could be beneficial. At some point. Hey Matthew, yeah, it's been a while. I hope you're good. I mean, the Arise trade because you're getting a batting champion, even though giving up Pablo Lopez seems a little So again, time will tell, and obviously they need Jorge Soler and Avisail Garcia to okay. Ask me whatever you want. They obviously need Jorge Soler and Avisail Garcia to have some bounce back. I'm just confused on the alignment of the Marlins infield. But that I've been confused about the Marlins for a while. So, and Zach Greinke signed with the Royals on a 1-year deal. Welcome home again. Yeah, I mean, maybe it depends on injury because he struggled with the back and how they do. I mentioned this earlier. I mean, d'Arnaud is going to DH some this year for sure. With Sean Murphy in the fold because Sean Murphy is better defensively than Travis is. He's going to DH some. He's not going to DH all the time. That's why the third catcher conversation has kind of been nagging at me. Because you need insurance just in case of an injury or a certain matchup that you like better with some of the guys on our bench. So it'll be interesting. No. Marcell Ozuna does not need to be the left fielder at all, ever. No, he's only pretty good for. He's only good for me, to be honest, if he's going to DH and hit homers. He cannot consistently play left field. Eddie Rosario has shown he can. He's much better. I wouldn't say he's a great defensive left fielder, but Moon's better than Ozuna, and I can't watch Ozuna in left field anymore. I just can't. So that's why I think the left field and DH situation is still kind of cloudy with all of the Sam Hilliard, the Eli White, the Jordan Luplow, the Kevin Pillar. I think obviously it's going to make and yes, you're right, Joseph Murphy has a better arm than all of our catchers. Nope. If Ozuna's our starting left fielder, then we might as well just say we're going to give up 2 or 3 extra runs this year just because of his noodle arm. So I am in the camp of no way Marcell Ozuna is our starting left fielder. I respect your opinion, but I just don't see that happening. Ozuna needs to be one of the primary DHs. That's all I see. All I see for him on the roster. That's why I continuously say the situation is very, very cloudy. And obviously I think it'll it'll work itself out in spring training, but all I see is Marcell Ozuna as a DH. We cannot afford to have his arm in left field. We can't. Eddie Rosario had an eye issue. I mean, that's why I say it's still a very, very fluid situation in my mind. That's why, because I think Marcell Ozuna doesn't really have a place on this team other than a DH to me. That's why I say trades and things could still happen, to be honest, because it's a square peg, round hole situation, and Eddie Rosario has proven he can do it. And last year he had a hole in his eye, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And having an entire offseason that he can see and execute things, I think Eddie Rosario is a much better option. And if you have to put Marcell Ozuna on the bench, it is what it is. I know you can't necessarily bench $32 million, but sometimes it's just what it is. It really is. But I cannot see Marcell Ozuna as our left fielder at all, and I don't want to see it. But that, I don't know what's gonna happen. But if Marcell Ozuna is our left fielder, then we have some issues. Our starting left fielder. I guess I could stomach him starting once or twice in a blue moon, but not really. So that's just my opinion there. I don't know. Again, it's gonna come down to. Hey Hudson. No. I just am 1,000% no on Marcell Ozuna being in the outfield at any point this year. I just think that's too much of a liability, and the way Marcell Ozuna performed last year at the plate, unless he turns back into 2020 Marcell Ozuna, where he drives in more than he lets in, I can't justify that. I cannot justify that at all. But again, who knows? And there are so many different options. Yes, Eddie Rosario was worse because he had a hole in his eye, and trying to get back with a hole in. Trying to come back with a hole in the eye. You're trying to see if you could see for livelihood purposes, not let alone trying to hit a 95 to 97 mile an hour fastball on a nightly basis. So I give Eddie Rosario much more benefit of the doubt than I do Eddie Rosario. I'm sorry. Like I said, we'll see what happens, and if Marcell Ozuna drives in more than he lets in, 35 plus homers, then maybe we can talk. But I really think Marcell Ozuna's arm is way too much of a liability. Yeah, Eddie Rosario had a couple of gaffes, but again, the eye thing is just something that we have to factor in whether we want to or not. And he was absolutely insanely amazing for us. So there's been way too much good. No, I just saw it was a 1-year deal. I could be wrong, but yeah, that's what I mean. I agree. Plus, I thought Greinke's was a 1 year. I could be wrong on that, but I believe it is the 1 year. And remember, Jordan Luplow and Eli White have minor league options left, so that could factor in the decision as well. But again, it's gonna really depend on performance, and I think that and if Marcell Ozuna outperforms,
absolutely sad. For Texas to have a chance to win this game, they got to slow those three guys down, particularly from the 3-point line. This is a team that's 4th in 3-point shooting in the Big 12, shooting around 36%. And said they make 9 per game. So Texas has to make those smaller guards have to
play for upside. I mean, again, if he crushes it in spring training, and there's no way we can say no to Marcell Ozuna, of course, and 32 million reasons, but I think it's just. I mean, we've tried to trade Marcell Ozuna twice. The other teams have said no. I agree. If again, he's got to tear it up in spring training. He really does for me to have him on the roster and be a productive player for us. But literally at the tail end of last year, he was barely playing and fighting for. I think Eddie Rosario is a much better option. I know they're not great options, but I'd take Eddie Rosario or Marcell Ozuna right now. And again, spring training is going to decide a lot of that, but I can't stomach watching Marcell Ozuna try to throw anyone out at this point. And I think you're probably giving up 6 or 7 runs this year based on Marcell Ozuna's arm.
I never thought I would have anyone to walk me down the aisle. This is the moment
that was 2 years ago. I mean, I get it, but it's more the 32 million that we can't get rid of, and yes, exactly, Hudson. We would take. We almost said we would take Patrick Corbin's contract to get rid of Marcell Ozuna. That was one of the deals that the Marlins said no to. So that's my spiel on Marcell Ozuna. We will see what happens in spring training, but I don't see it. I would love Kevin Pillar or one of those guys to absolutely crush it, so we don't have kind of a revolving door there. But that is my spiel on Marcell Ozuna, and we will see what happens. I believe Johnny Cueto also signed with the Marlins, so that's interesting. That was a week or so ago. So that is definitely interesting. I don't think I touched on this. Jazz Chisholm being the cover athlete for MLB The Show. It's a good thing for him. He's very, very electric. But I don't know that he's kind of in his statistical thing. I don't know if he necessarily deserved it, but his swagger is definitely there. And it's a nice, young, electric guy. But again, I have the kind of feeling of Madden curse a little bit. That's kind of happened with the MLB The Show a little less, yes, but a lot more than I would like. So if a Braves player doesn't ever get on the cover, I would be totally fine with that. But
the guys will be there leading up to North Carolina and Duke, 11 Eastern, ESPN. Big one for Duke and North Carolina.
I don't know. Going from second base to center is a definite crazy transition. He has the athleticism for it, but it does seem odd. It does seem odd considering you could have gone for like a Kevin Pillar or something like that we have done to have at least a guy that has experience in center field. It should be an odd transition. And with Gene Segura at third base when he struggled at shortstop and second base with the Phillies, and Arise at second base, who is a great hitter, but down a little bit in yeah.
Virginia up by 1. This has been the G halftime report.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Adam Duvall last season. He played center field for us in the playoff run and was very good at it. But like when he tried to do it the entire year last year, he struggled. He struggled mightily. And when we moved him over to left field, he started raking again. So I think that is definitely going to be a storyline to watch and a very interesting one. I mean, Jazz Chisholm obviously has the swagger and the athleticism to do it, but it takes a lot in the mentals to be able to be steady at both the plate and the field. And Jazz Chisholm is one of the most important players to the Marlins overall. If Kevin Pillar plays like he did 2 years ago, you'll be fine with paying him $3 million because he was one of the most consistent players a couple of years ago, and injuries got him this year. And again, the left field situation is gonna figure itself out in spring training. It's gonna be like Pablo Sandoval and Adrianza. Somebody's gonna hit their way on the team, and things are gonna figure themselves out. $3 million is not that much. $3 million is not that much in MLB salary standards. It's really not, and you can't have enough veterans that have been there, done that, and things of that nature. So, if Kevin Pillar makes it, if Luplow makes it, if Sam Hilliard makes it, if Eli White makes it, I don't care. As long as we take the best player that we think can help us win ball games, I am good. And the money matters, of course. Obviously, because the Marcell Ozuna brick wall type of situation, but outfield's gonna figure itself out, and I'm glad we have 2/3 of it figured out.
It's okay to let your eyes linger over the
With Michael Harris II. Look at how our dynamic changed last year when Michael Harris II got called up, and then we moved Adam Duvall over, and how much that changed. So that's just my take on the whole outfield of it all. We talk about it every week. Yeah, it is. No, I wouldn't touch Bauer with a 10-foot pole. And I would not touch Bauer with a 10-foot pole. I just would not. No. Because for all of Marcell Ozuna's shortcomings and all of that, he seems to be universally liked in the clubhouse and things of that nature. Bauer does not seem to be that across the league. And Marcell Ozuna's gonna get a shot in spring training.
We have had games here where Virginia and Syracuse scored 36 points for an entire game. They're right there at halftime here today. They found something offensively that works.
So second half underway, Virginia with the basketball. Coming in with a 16-win streak.
Look, I think Bauer has created too much. I mean, he's just so weird, and you can be weird, but there's a line to it, and I just don't. Brian Sticker has even said that there's no chance we are going after a guy like Bauer, so that's not going to happen. And Marcell Ozuna's going to get a chance in spring training, as he should. And if he tears the cover off the ball, you, as a sports fan and as a person that covers the team and all this stuff, I haven't liked every single player that has worn. For the vast majority, I've loved and liked most of the players that wear a Braves uniform. But if Marcell Ozuna tears the cover off the ball and makes the team out of spring training and helps us win ball games, I can swallow it. So whatever happens, happens. But Bauer is just a big time no for me. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. I mean, yeah, I get it, but I mean, but you can't necessarily just dumping Ozuna's contract is going to cost. I mean, we might eventually do that, but right now he's under contract and going to get a shot. Right, he's a free agent, Bauer would cost the league minimum, but he's just too much of a headache for me to justify. With Marcell Ozuna, like I said, he seems to be liked by his teammates, and that kind of matters for the Braves. So again, I think Marcell Ozuna still has to tear the cover off the ball. And if he doesn't, we might finally outright release him. But outright releasing a guy that has still $32 million on the contract is still going to be detrimental to the team. if you outright release him, once he gets a chance in spring training, and if he duds and it's not worth it, then I would do it. And I think give Ozuna a fresh start or whatever the case may be. But I think $32 million earns him the right to compete in spring training. That's just the reality. And Bauer being a free agent and the minimum and all of that stuff, that's just too much of a headache for me. And Brian Snicker, like I said, has already said absolutely not to Bauer, and I'm pretty much gonna bleed Brian Snicker. So there's that. But I mean, you at worst. No, I still wouldn't do it. I really, because that's just too logistically weird and a PR nightmare. And the Braves have, yes, I know Marcell Ozuna has had his struggles off the field, and none of us like it. But organizational culture matters, and I just adding Bauer to that just feels gross. Money or not, it just feels really gross. So that's my overall opinion there. Switching a little bit, Philadelphia and the Kansas City Chiefs going to the Super Bowl. The Travis Kelce, Andy Reid Bowl. I feel really bad for Brock Purdy. It was kind of a terrible situation. Or a clock strikes midnight. That's an argument that I don't know, Joseph. I haven't ever understood that, but I'm not gonna judge. It's just, it is what it is. I know the Braves and Dodgers have done it before with bad contracts, but Adrian Gonzalez was a completely different situation from Ozuna and Bauer, and I just think it's too much of a logistical headache. But in terms of just the Super Bowl itself, Andy Reid Bowl and the Kelce Bowl, Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, that is really cool. As we sit here today, I lean Eagles, but also you can't discount. Yes, I did see that we're getting a little higher pick, so that is good. I'm sad that that's how the 49ers season ended, especially for Brock Purdy, who's gonna have Tommy John surgery. Or they're trying to avoid Tommy John surgery, but he's out at least 6 months, so that's kind of a clock strikes midnight on the Cinderella slipper that Brock Purdy was. I wish we could have seen the actual result instead of the 49ers running out of quarterbacks, but it is what it is. Luck plays into it. The Chiefs-Bengals game was awesome. I feel bad for that linebacker that pushed Patrick Mahomes out of bounds. Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes acted a little bit, but his both feet were out of bounds. So I guess they got that one right. It was a little choppy officiating. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have liked to seen it, Christian McCaffrey at the quarterback position, just because what else? You had nothing else to lose, so I agree. But I think the Chiefs and Eagles are going to be a great matchup and very, very fun. So there's that. Kellen Moore is heading to the Los Angeles Chargers to be their OC. The Panthers have kept our special teams coordinator, Chris Tabor, and our offensive line coach, James Campen. So I'm really excited about that. Frank Reich will be introduced on tomorrow at noon, so that's going to be fun. I'm really excited. And there's like a glimmer of hope in terms of the Panthers getting back to solid football, hopefully. Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that, but yeah, maybe it was karma for Kyle Shanahan. But yeah, because if he would have ran the ball, I actually remember the time. There was 4:43 left, and it was like a third and 5 or something, maybe a 2nd and 8, and they had been running all over the Patriots, and then the play action and Matt Ryan got sacked, fumble, and then that was it. So it might have been karma. You're right, Hudson. But I mean, I think the Panthers have a lot more hope than we did. And I'm glad we don't have to deal with Matt Rule anymore. So we'll see how that actually plays out. But I hate it for Brock Purdy. I just wanted his story to get the ending that he wrote, not the ending that injuries tend to write, and I hope he can bounce back from it. I think I think it was a necessary move for both franchises. I think it was something we had to do. Need to draft a quarterback. Well, my dream scenario for the Panthers would be getting CJ Stroud. And yes, Andy Smith, we are all ready for Rays baseball and can't wait. My dream would be CJ Stroud. I don't know if the word is necessary to draft a quarterback. Will we? Probably. The draft class next year is kind of loaded, and there's going to be so much quarterback movement this year with Rodgers, with the San Francisco situation, with the Lamar Jackson situation, and things of that nature. So I think we will draft one. The only ones that I really, really like are CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, and I think those guys are going to be gone very quickly. And to answer your question, Matthew, about the order we finish, it honestly depends on the quarterback position, because I don't know what the Saints are doing. If Tom Brady moves on, which everybody thinks he's going to, that matters. Then the Falcons, are they gonna? I'm guessing they're sticking with Riddler, but he's a young guy, so I think it's gonna come down to the off seasons and what type of teams are put together, to be honest. But the CMC trade kind of had to happen because we were going nowhere fast, and it's really hard to put all your eggs in a running back basket, even though Christian McCaffrey is so much more than a running back. I think it's very. So I think it was a very necessary and quality trade. But obviously, once again, it depends on what we're able to do with the draft and the quarterback position. So that's yeah, and obviously Matt Corral is still in the mix, and I would like to see what Frank Reich can do with a guy like him in the preseason reps. We might have a Brock Purdy type in the building, and we didn't even know it. So Matt Corral is also an option. I really have no clue the quarterback position.
The soundtrack.
You come in, you're gonna be hearing that sizzle. That's how you know we always have fresh food.
Fresh is what you stand for.
Exactly.
Because Bryce Young is going to be the second pick of the draft. I mean, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, but we have more chance to get CJ Stroud, but he's probably going to be gone in the top 4 unless we trade up. So who knows? But those are my 2 favorite, and if we had the number 1 pick, it would be easy Bryce Young for me, but we don't. So we have the 9th pick, so we'll see if we decide to trade up. If it also again depends on the veteran guys on the market: Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, and probably some others that we're not even thinking about. But we'll see. But that's pretty much. Let's see. Do I have anything else? Don't think so. Yeah, I mean, height is a very interesting caveat, and it's definitely interesting. But just watching Bryce Young at Alabama and things of that nature, it doesn't scare me as much. It's almost like the Kenny Pickett hands controversy. I mean, I understand that Drew Brees was short, but he did some amazing things with the Saints. So it'll definitely be an interesting thing to watch for sure. I think people put too much stock in like the attributes and things of that nature.
But what Virginia does not get is a breakaway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The effort, the hustle play by Bell, possibly saving his team 2 points.
There's always that caveat, and obviously like the Cardinal situation, because you just maybe. That is true. They are huge compared to college. I mean, but especially quarterback wise. So it's definitely a factor. But I think the tools of Bryce Young are just too good to necessarily and obviously no one's counting him out, but it's a little bit of a more of a factor. I didn't even think about that. But Bryce Young tools are too good and too polished, it seems to me, to let that be the determining factor. But I totally get where that you're coming from because Kyler Murray and all that stuff. And Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals is an interesting situation because he's coming back from a torn ACL, so that's another quarterback situation that is crazy to watch. And I think
State tipping off at 8 to noon Eastern, followed by Auburn and Tennessee. Number 1 Purdue, Indiana, then North Carolina.
I don't know that I think he can move the pocket. He's not a speedster though, so it'll be again very interesting.
So Syracuse at the foul line.
The 9 quarterback, Will Anderson is the Alabama linebacker hybrid. He could be the number 1 pick in the draft. The Georgia Carter kid, that he's probably up there. Those are the 2 guys that come to mind right away. I'm sure there's a couple of offensive linemen I'm not thinking of. But in terms of defense, I really like I think he's good at moving. I think he's good at moving the pocket, and he can run. He's kind of like Trevor Lawrence, where he doesn't, and Joe Burrow, he doesn't choose to run, but when he needs to, he can. I do like Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah. Sam Laporta is an interesting tight end from Iowa. Washington's the tight end from Georgia is an interesting one to look at. I really like Quentin Johnson, the wide receiver from TCU. There's a lot of really, really good talent, but I think next year is going to be the gold mine of a draft, but this year is littered with talent as well, so it's going to be very interesting to watch. But the biggest news that we should get next week to talk about is probably
For Virginia, but right now Syracuse confident on the offensive the floor when Jesse Edwards gets the basketball. And a shot there as Edwards is knocked just about out of bounds. 51 tight one here with about 11 minutes to go inside the dome.
I would, again, it depends on our off seasons and quarterback, but I'm not going to bet against my team. I'm not going to get a bet against the Panthers. I think we have a little bit more foundation than the Falcons do, but the Falcons are building that foundation as well. So, but I'm definitely never going to bet against my team. I just can't. So, some things we have to look forward to next week. Probably Braves announcing who our play-by-play guy will be. So that'll be fun. Maybe some random move trade or something, because Alex Anthopoulos continues to work. So we will see. But spring training is definitely going to be fun to follow, and there's going to be a lot of unknowns and some fun stories that are going to come out of nowhere, and that's always the fun part about spring training and getting opportunities that you never see coming, so to speak. But I think that's all the news I have for this week.
Numbers move you, but some can stop you in your tracks, like the tens of thousands of people who were diagnosed with HPV-related cancers. For most people, HPV clears.
Yeah, I mean, the NFC overall is kind of down. So we will see. It's going to depend on the quarterback movement and all that jazz and the draft and all that stuff. But thanks for joining, guys. I will see you guys next week. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It helps out a lot. These longer discussions and lives really help out the watch hours, so I appreciate it.
Tell your doctor if you have a weakened immune system, are pregnant, or plan to be. The most common side effects include
Okay.
infection-site reactions, headache, nausea, dizziness, tiredness, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and sore throat. Fainting can also happen. Help protect what counts. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist about Gardasil 9.
But yeah, it really helps out a lot. Ben Ingram's definitely a possibility. I think it'll depend. I think it'll depend because a lot of people love him on the radio, and I think it would be a big loss for the radio. So we will definitely see on that end.
Right now for National Player of the Year, who has been spectacular all season long.
If he does, I would not be sad. But we will probably know in the next week or so, and we'll definitely talk about it and have some fun. And thanks for joining, guys. I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Be here because it's always fun. Okay. That sounds good to me if it is true. I will see you guys next week.